Hey guys, it's Adrian over BHA here, bringing you another video. Now this one, I mentioned it in my status update for September, but I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to put this video together. So I wanted to talk about entity management a little bit, just because I know it's been kind of a big deal, especially recently with all the updates to Home Assistant as we are approaching 1.0. They're trying to move a lot of the things that we would normally do, maybe in the command line and the YAML files, into the web interface to make things more user friendly, a little bit easier to use. So I thought I would at least try to touch base with some of that and kind of go over some of the new features with the entity management and everything. So I thought I'd give it a shot. All right, so in the past, at least from a device standpoint, the only way that you really manage the devices that you have added into Home Assistant was through kind of known devices.yaml file. So this was a YAML file that was stored in your configuration directory, and you could go in and see all the devices that Home Assistant had pulled in from the various types of device trackers that you had set up. Let's see, with version 0.94, as you can kind of see here, they've kind of phased that out a little bit. They're moving away from using the known devices.yaml file, and like I said, everything's being stored a little bit differently and managed more online in the web interface. All right, so let's try to go in and just kind of take a look at some of the various things that I'm talking about. So if you go into the configuration tab on the side over there, you can look at what they call entity registry. And so from here, you can see all the devices, not just device trackers, but you can even see binary sensors and sensors and anything that it is pulled in from like an integration or anything like that will show up listed here. And if you pick one of these and you click on it, you have the ability to disable it or hide it, I guess, from the Home Assistant. And if it's one that maybe you're no longer using it or you don't want it in Home Assistant anymore at all, you can just hit delete and delete it out of here altogether. So again, these are things that you can do right from the web interface that has made it a little bit easier to manage, from how it used to be, which was a lot harder to remove devices that you no longer used in Home Assistant. So that's pretty cool. I like that feature. Another cool thing, I don't know if you guys have played around with it at all, but there's obviously the ability to customize your entities from the web interface as well by clicking under customization. You can go in, you can look at all the different entities, and this will include everything from automations to scripts. They'll all be listed here. You can change the name or the icon, or there's a few other attributes that you're allowed to change as well, depending on what type of entity it is. If this is something you hadn't seen before, then you can certainly do this from the web interface as well. And this will actually store everything in your customized.yaml file. So any changes that are made here will be updated in that customized.yaml file. All right, so let's also look at the integrations tab here. So if you click on integrations, this will show all the integrations that you have installed in your Home Assistant configuration. So as for me, I got, of course, my unified controller and all the device trackers that is pulled in from that. I also have my SmartThings integration set up there, and there's a few HomeKit devices and such as well. But if you were to click on one of these, we'll say my unified controller here, it'll list out every device there, have their name and everything. And if you hit the settings on one of these, then of course you don't have a whole lot of options here. You can change the name if you want, as well as the area. So if you have different areas configured in Home Assistant, then you have the ability to move these into the specific areas that you want as well. And they're all kind of set up the same way, so you can, we'll click on the SmartThings one just to show you that it's kind of the same way as well. You can change the name if you want, change the area. And of course, the ones within SmartThings integration, you can actually turn them on and off from this area as well. And then of course, you'll notice this at the top up there next to the trash can. You have the ability to set it up to where it'll automatically pull in newly added devices that it sees from the integration, or you can add them manually instead. So those are just kind of the different ways that we can manage the entities and stuff in Home Assistant. Another cool little feature that I have added here that I just wanted to kind of show you. It's more just for fun, but I usually like to try to put in some kind of script or automation or something that you can set up just to add to your configuration if you want. This one is I've decided to create a template sensor, or just sensor, to monitor the number of networked devices I have configured in Home Assistant. So I have lots of different devices on my home network. A lot of them come in from my Unify controller component, but any device that carries an IP address is basically set up as a device tracker in my Home Assistant configuration. So I thought it would be kind of a cool idea just to create a sensor that would give me the total number of device trackers that I have on my Home Assistant setup, just so I can kind of get an idea of how many devices I currently am using. So in order to do that, it's pretty easy actually to set that up. I'm going to show you how to do this with a device tracker, but you can actually do this with automations or scripts or anything like that. So if you just want to have a running counter showing how many of a specific type of entity you have on your Home Assistant system, this will work for any of those. So we're editing my sensor.yaml file here. Find an open spot down here at the bottom. The platform, of course, will be template. For this sensor, I'm going to call it total underscore device underscore trackers. Friendly name, I'm just going to call it device trackers. Now for entity ID, I'm putting sensor.time. That doesn't really have anything to do with the device it is pulling from. It's just going to tell it that I want it to update I think it's every minute by default. Now for the value template, this is where it's going to pull in the actual information. Like I said, I want it to count the number of device trackers that I have defined in Home Assistant. So it's going to be states.device underscore tracker, pipe, list, and then another pipe, and then count. And you put that inside the braces, and I'll have all this in the description below so you can copy and paste it. But once we have all that in there, we're going to go ahead and save it. So we're going to jump over to the web interface here. Check our configuration to make sure everything looks good. And because this was a sensor, we will have to restart Home Assistant for it to pick up those changes. We'll give that a second to come back up. So as you can see under my little miscellaneous card down at the bottom, device trackers, and currently a number of 56. So I have 56 networked devices configured on my Home Assistant configuration as of late. And of course, I'm always adding stuff to it, so that number is growing all the time. But I thought it was kind of a cool way. I think I may also add in some other stuff, automation counters and script counters and stuff. I'm just curious to know how many of these I actually have defined in Home Assistant. I add a lot of these, and I have so many different YAML files. It's hard to keep track of how many I actually have built out. So it'd be kind of nice to have that count. Just something cool to play around with, something else that you can add into Home Assistant that that you're able to keep track of. That's the end of the video, guys. Like I said, this wasn't a real super in-depth video, nothing super cool here, but I wanted to kind of touch base with entity management just because all the changes that have been happening within Home Assistant. I thought it would be kind of cool to check that out. If you liked the video, please subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or comments, hit me up in the comments below. As always, if there are any videos out there that you would like to see that I don't already have out there, let me know in the comments as well, and I'll see if I can't get something put together for you guys. Otherwise, I'll see you guys around. Thanks.